Aloha, my name's Anna Covert, and I'm coming to you from my battleship here on the beautiful island of Oahu. This week on the Covert Code, the topic is leveraging AI to drive business growth, and my special guest is Garry S. Wheeler, co-founder and COO of Xpertloop. An author of multiple book titles, Garry has a passion for helping authors create their unique voice. Today, he's here to share his new platform and how it leverages artificial intelligence to connect to new audiences, increase engagement, and drive business growth. Thanks so much for being here today, Garry.
Thanks for having me. I just wish I was sitting there with you in Hawaii instead of sitting here in Naples, Florida.
Yeah. No, we got to do a live one of these, a real one of these days.
Exactly. Give me an excuse to get over there. Well,
Mhm.
thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
So to kick us off, can you give us I know you have a very fascinating background, which we talked a little bit about before. Can you share with our audience, what was your vision when you founded Xfinity? And I know that it was something that was kind of a surprise. So tell us about how your little journey and how you got here.
Okay, so I spent most of my career in high tech, like a lot of folks have, I suppose. But I've been involved in 8 different startups that I've been a founder in over that period of time, and probably worked for 2 or 3 others. I can't remember them off the top of my head that I wasn't a co-founder in, but I had that energy level still being a part of a startup. And I've always just enjoyed the idea of taking something technical or technological and applying that to business challenges and business opportunities. So for me, I had retired actually about 8 years ago from a connected home startup that I was one of the executives in, and was fortunate enough to get bought by Comcast. And I went off and traveled the world for 3 years, and that was the most spectacular time of my life. And got me back into the business about, I guess, last June, just because I was so enamored by AI to start with. And then some of my folks that I'd worked with in the prior company had reached out. And the next thing I know, I was right back into it. And I don't regret it for a minute. It's been a lot of fun.
Super fun. And so, tell us about, I know you have a couple books. Tell us a little bit about what you've written.
Okay, so the first book I wrote is called From Failure to Fortune. And that book was based on a startup that I had run back in 2005 for the music industry, which I was very excited about at the time. And you can think of it as the Zoom of 2005, because it was very much an interactive video platform that was aimed at the music industry. And unfortunately, we didn't make it. We were very early. A lot of challenges in terms of the technology. Also, the bandwidth at that time was not as great. So for streaming and interaction, it was a little more challenging. So I wrote the book basically about the 50 lessons that I learned from that failed startup. And I've used those lessons ever since. So it lasted from 2005 to 2008, but it's left an imprint on me that's lasted for many more years than that. That's my first book. And the second book I wrote was a book about IT strategy. So it's more of a IT strategy alignment book, helping IT leaders become more entrepreneurial in their role and actually applying a set of tools that I had developed in my consulting business that I ran for a number of years and applying those to their business challenges and their hit from an IT perspective.
Wow. And then the one that you're working on now.
The one that I'm working on now is a whole different story. It's a story about that 3-year journey that I took with my wife. We went to 73 different countries over that span of time. It was it really was the best time of my life when I look back at it, because first of all, it was like you being a college student, except you could afford to go places. So we had a mission to actually visit over 100 countries together in our lifetime, and we have since done that. And that trip was really just something fantastic. So I wrote a book called Living Like You Mean It, which is due out in the next couple of months, and that focuses all about that decision process to sell everything and just go live around the world for those 3 years, and the process that we went through and all the places we went. So I'm really excited about the story. So.
Wow. So what is one of the tips that you always remind yourself of from your first book about failure? And you said that there are things that you always go back to. What are some things that you could share with the listeners here that they could use today?
One of the key learnings for me was just, being able to self-assess your readiness to be an entrepreneur. Um, I think it's always so exciting, especially if you're coming out of a company and you just think I'm going to go off on my own. I'm going to create something grand and have all this freedom. But you really need to step back from that and assess the personal risk that come with that decision. It's not just financial. It can be very much personal, sacrifices you're making with your family, with your health for that matter. I think that's the most important thing is to really understand, are you ready to take on those risks? Excuse me.
It's true. It's, so they say you have to have that real passion, and yeah, it's a great idea, and but how much are you willing to put into it? Because we know it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like that equation for success, right? It's like triple
Exactly.
the effort to get it to where it needs to be.
Well, it's interesting because now using AI to shift to AI for a minute, with our expert loop platform that we've built, I built a board of advisors on my platform. And basically, I selected from all these experts in their fields, and I ran my business plan through those experts like they were my board of directors and said, what did I do wrong? What should I have done differently, basically, with my startup? And the feedback I got was tremendous. And I couldn't think, all I could think about was, wow, what a difference this would have made in my life, my decision making had I had that tool back in 2005, because it really did challenge a lot of my basic tenets for what I was doing. It challenged me out on a personal basis to really think about certain things. And one of the most important lessons is product market fit. And that's essentially what we're really focused on right now with the platform that we're building, is really understanding the feature set that people can't live without. That's the differentiator. You've got to find something that will, people just won't let you get off the phone before they'll give you their credit card, so to speak, because they think that there's something there, right?
It's true, and I think that it's a really good point because there is just so much technology now, and I think people are already becoming overwhelmed with just the number of AI choices that there are. And so it's like, okay, yeah, it's AI, but what else? And really
Yes.
together that customer experience and finding the right price and the right audience, and like we talked about, like what are the opportunities to market it and to succeed?
Right, right. And it goes beyond just, I think most people are most familiar with ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude and tools like that, which are very great. They're great tools in and of themselves. But the experience that you get with those tools tends to be very one way, where you're going in and asking some questions and you're getting some answers. We, from the beginning, started with AI agents because we felt that what we wanted to do was transcend the learning process, meaning we wanted our platform to be a coach. But when you come to our platform, we wanted you to engage with the person's content and their thoughts and beliefs, but we wanted you to apply that knowledge. So it's a very much a Socratic coaching approach that we've taken. And it's unique because people can actually come away with an artifact at the end that expert helped them create.
Right. So give us an example of someone who's on the platform already and how they're using this tool.
Okay. So we got lots of different types of people, but one that comes to mind is we have a person that helps people find the next 100 bagger startup, basically. What is going to make something really go in the market. So in his case, he's built a pitch deck evaluator. So you can upload your pitch deck for financing purposes. And his AI will help you navigate through that whole document and come out at the other end with a much better pitch and a critique of what's good and what needs to be worked on even further. And that's a real time example. He also has like a 5 bullet point or methodology around building your startup story. And the platform takes you through a coaching session for each one of those 5 points of his methodology. And once again, at the end, you have something that you can build your business plan on. We have people using it for marketing plans. We have people using it for succession planning, um, coaching documents to help CEOs, for example. So there's all types of things, but they're using the agents to do it. It's not just about putting static content into the platform and having people question and answer it. It is really built to take you through a process that somebody thinks is very critical to helping you succeed. So,
So just to back it up for the listeners, so this agent, so as a for instance, the writer of the Covert Code, will come to the platform. I would take all the content I've written, my book, my blogs, my podcast, we would load it in, and now the we're going to develop the agent, which is a virtual avatar of my author voice. Right? And then we can use that tool in multiple ways. I could have a chat bot on my website. People could come and instead of, they might have questions about the book. Instead of writing an email, they could be kind of asking the Anna agent about what my thoughts were, how to apply the learnings of the book to this question that they have.
exactly. It's meant to be interactive and authentic. So one of the things, again, that differentiates when we stand up your content, the way you just described it, all the types of content, it's put in a siloed database. It's not contaminated by everyone else's thoughts. It's now your data, your voice, your values that are communicated. Once that's in there, you're able to do like you described. You can have people just chat with your content, but it won't just be a one-way conversation. I guarantee you, every agent will ask questions of the person when they're interacting with it because they're trying to go and assess how they can help you further. The agents do that. So there are different, you're applying the learnings in a different, or applying the knowledge in a different way, but it's interactive and it's engaging. So it's fun for the audience member, and the takeaway that they get is very helpful for them. At the same time, as the author or the expert sees people on the platform, they also see the chats that take place with their content. So they're getting insights as well to say, is my content responding properly? Did I tune it right? Do I need to write a new article to bring something up to date? There's all kinds of ways that you can make it more effective. So being able to see that dialogue on going both ways is very helpful to the expert.
And how much content do you think is necessary to create the agent?
That's a great question. We typically say if we have a book's length of content, that's enough. And that can be a variety of sources. It could be somebody had multiple podcasts and keynote speeches, um, blog posts, and so forth, or it can be just the starting point of a book. So that the AI is very quick to learn the voice and writing style of the person with that amount of content. And if you change and go in a different direction with new writings and so forth, it'll pair it up with the initial content that you have to try to make it even better as it learns your voice out further. So.
Yeah, and how else are people using this tool to, or is it more contained versus, so I'm the one who's training it and providing, feeding it, nurturing it, and then based off people engaging with the content, we're learning about what else we might need to fill in the gaps. How else can the tool be used to try to attract new opportunities or increase audience size?
Okay. So what we find is people that write a lot of articles, they're trying to stay current, newsletters and things like that. They'll embed a link in their articles that will take somebody like a call to action. Hey, instead of spending the next hour going through all this content, why don't you click on this link and you can interact with it right here on my expert loop, and I'll help you apply this knowledge, this learning, or this methodology. So a lot of people are getting traction from that. We've had people that write a lot of Substack articles that find that 3 times more people come to the platform and register to use it than they get likes on their articles. So people are really interested in going deeper in a lot of cases and applying whatever that call to action is. And they'd rather use a tool like that than just reading static content.
I think that that's true. I mean, I even, I do a lot of I'll do private consulting or lessons. Like, someone will come to me and instead of us doing their digital marketing or, they don't want to read the book necessarily, they'd rather pay me hourly to walk them through how to do it. Right. So like, there is a whole different type of audience who need that kind of almost, you know, the way that they think now is like they need the engagement to be able to be
Yeah.
part of it.
Well, I find myself, I learn better if I'm trying to apply whatever I'm reading. If I read a book, I might pick up a few great ideas and jot them down, but I don't necessarily apply them. With this type of technology really does require you to spend the time to apply the knowledge. And when you do, you've learned it. It's something you can reuse many times down the road. You can always come back to the expert loop and do it, or you can apply it even outside of that because now you know the principles and have applied those from the expert. So
Do you see this being maybe something that would expand into educational materials for professors and universities and you know, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't see there's any limits there. In fact, we have people now that are using it for generating training materials. So they're taking their content and creating a training class from it. We don't, our platform isn't a training platform per se, but you can create the content to use it elsewhere. So people are using it for those purposes. We've had a couple of universities actually in their classes use our technology to engage the student in the work of the professor that was using it. So, and that's been really interesting learning for us. It helped us do some things on our interface that we thought would be, basically got some really great feedback that we could apply to the interface to make it better for the student. So I think that's a great use case, honestly.
Yeah, I think that even thinking about my first book, 'cause, now I'm working on my second book, The Solar Coaster, and I had there's a lot, with Forbes, of course, there was a limit, right? It was or a recommendation, I'll call it, right? Between your book should not be longer than 55,000 words. Like the ideal business
Mhm.
book was 45,000 to 55,000 words. And I really at the beginning I was like, "Oh, there's so much more that I wanna say," and okay, well, let's put that online. It can be downloads, it can be, additional materials, and so I spent all this time creating all these additional materials, and I had it at first it was gated, right? So people had to share a receipt to get
Mhm.
the book.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And hardly anyone registered, and I'm like, "You know what? I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna open this up, make it free for everyone. It's this one less barrier to, oh, I don't have the receipt and forget it, right?"
Mhm.
But now it makes me think for the future and with opportunity for real authors is instead of saying, "Hey, visit the site for more materials," it's, "Hey, go now and engage in the bot and see," or the not the bot, but the agent, and
Yes, the agent.
do a test or if
Yeah.
topics, ask it for what other topics you're looking for or how it could apply, and just giving a whole nother engagement opportunity while they're even reading.
Absolutely. And one of the key tenets that we had going into the build process of the platform was that we wanted the IP that gets created on this platform to be owned by the author or the expert. You can't always say it's an author, it's an expert. It can be a coach, a consultant, but somebody that's put the time and effort into the platform should own the content and they should be able to monetize that or use it for lead gen or whatever purposes that they think is important to their business. So our platform is very accommodating to that. In fact, we try to drive every expert that comes onto the platform to monetize the content. Here's some ideas from how you can do that through subscriptions or licensing, or even buy you a cup of coffee. I mean, there are apps out there that do that and collect fees that way. And people are very appreciative that they're getting this kind of interface and time with the expert through their AI tool and getting access to that knowledge in a way it's very personal. It seems like you're actually working with the person, and who could afford that otherwise? You know, a lot of times you're never going to have that the benefit of being able to write the check to have that person engaged full time on a consulting gig with you, but you get the benefit of using their AI for a lesser price, and the expert gets to scale their expertise in a way that they wouldn't be able to otherwise.
Course, you mentioned lead generation, which I think is really interesting. So the chat or the agent can also fill out a form on, so people fill out, they give their information in the bot. Then does that connect? Do you have like an open API with CRMs, or are people managing those opportunities inside of your platform?
So the way we currently handle it, we have the ability to embed URLs in the platform so you can take somebody somewhere else. But typically, what most people are using is Calendly because it's such a simple tool, and they'll just assess the chat will be assessed based on maybe three questions that get answered or asked, and then the agent will suggest, "Hey, why don't you? This looks like you're struggling with this topic, or it looks like you're going deep on this topic. Why don't you book a half an hour free consult with me today?" And it will serve up the calendar right there in the app.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like that
Yeah.
because people do take advantage of that because they're working through something and they're like, "Wow, this is really great. Now I can actually talk to the person and go even further with it." It's we call it keeping the expert in the loop, basically human in the loop. So
That's cool. So what do you think, now with what's going on with AI, what are the risks that businesses should be aware of and how to, they want that we use AI to drive business growth, but what risks are there out there for maybe picking the wrong tools or what are you thinking?
I, my whole life, as I mentioned, has been in technology, and I've seen the good, bad, and the ugly of it. Quite honestly, um, there's always things to be worried about, and just be cautious about because people can use it for bad things too. All right, so you have to really go into it knowing that the technology has to be steered and nurtured, just like like an intern or an employee would need. You have to put some guardrails on there to make sure it performs the way you want it to. Um, and I think the agents are the best way because it does take you through you have to go through a deep thought process. And when I say that, we start with templates for people. We don't make them start from scratch writing code. It's not like that, but we give templates and they go in and tune it to what they think is the most important to their messaging. So that's an investment of time that I think people need to be willing to make sure AI serves their purpose. Um, don't go into it assuming that any packaged platform or AI agent is going to do the job that you want it to, because you definitely want to remain in the loop as a human. And a lot of times, what I hear is people are going to, oh, my job's going to be taken away from me now. Somebody's writing these summaries and doing these blog posts in my behalf. And to me, I don't look at it that way at all. I look at it as the people that are AI agent trained and ready, those are the most valuable people. You're not replacing people that are with AI, you're replacing the people that don't want to learn AI, because AI is going to be part of our future, and you want people that can wrap their heads around it. There are, and go forward using the tools. I mean, that's the most important thing.
Absolutely. I mean, there's been for so many years, I've always wanted to clone myself. I'm like, the only way that I can grow is if I clone myself. But now, this is it's kind of that.
It's kind of like that. It really is. I mean, there are times when I ask it questions of my own content because I'm testing to make sure, and I'll be like, "Did I say that? Man, did I write that? It sounds exactly what I would have said." At
Yeah.
one point, I remember I asked it, I said, "What was the most important lesson you learned in your book or whatever?" And it came back and said, uh, don't don't become an entrepreneur if you can't deal with failure. And that was I think it was lesson 13. And that's exactly the one I would have told anybody that asked me of the 50, which was the most important. It knew it. I mean, it just knows because it's learned so much about my writing style and the things that I talk about. So
Wow. So what do you think about, we're talking and I don't want to even mention his name, but this is one thing we agree on that Trump says we're in the middle of a crisis here because we don't have enough power to win the
Mhm.
right, just like we had the space race and it was the world was all trying to get to the moon and thank God we won, right? And that's what gave us the technology to have the ballistic warhead and put us ahead for the last however many years it's been. And now we're in another race, and it's the AI race. And someone's going to be a winner, and but really, we don't have enough power to, I think he said we need we have only a half the amount of power, and I think that's even less than that. Being someone who's very involved in renewable energy, so,
Right.
and my fear on any new technology like this is that I always tell clients, think about social media, right? When it was first adopted or first was
Yeah.
launched, it was an adoption phase, it was free. I mean, to
Mhm.
some extent, it still is free, right, for the consumer.
Mhm.
But, then as soon as it reached a critical mass, then, now it's all pay to play. And you
Mhm.
can't reach anyone without paying, basically. I mean, there are strategies, but they're much more cumbersome and harder. And even then, there's still things you have to do. So, what are our thoughts on what could what is the implications of this AI? Like, can we afford to use these tools into the future? And what is your plan for your company?
Yeah. Okay. So I don't want to get political at all. I just think that at some level we have to recognize that power is a key concern as is space for these data centers. And if we're going to compete, we need to be the leaders in it. I don't want to sit back and watch us get passed by the rest of the world. I think we have right now, I still believe we have a leading edge in the space. I know that we've heard a lot about what China's working on, but I still think we as a country have are in squarely in a position to be the leaders. And the investment that Trump's talking about and his team's talking about, I think it really is legitimate. I don't know. I mean, over time, the technology will be less demanding on that. We're going to figure that out, right? There's going to be a curve here. We've already seen that even using some of the platforms like OpenAI, where the charges are starting to come down because they're able to do it more efficiently. And as more of that efficiency gets built in, there'll be a less demand potentially on power. But I think in the short term, we got to go heavy and hard, and then as the technology catches up and requires less, we just have to be ready to cap that, right? Not continue to spend the money. But I don't see any way to sit back and wait for other people to do it, because if we do, we're going to be second class citizens.
Absolutely. So, do you guys have your own data center?
No, we don't. We've outsourced everything to Amazon in the cloud. We have a very good relationship there. And I, I, I think that's the way most companies are going anyways. We have a very stringent security, policy that we've been able to implement. So we feel pretty good about that relationship, and it scales so well for us. Anytime we need more, we can get more.
Yeah, AWS is definitely one of the best out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been actually
Yeah.
it's so interesting just recently with my work with solar energy. I've had multiple calls over the last couple of weeks here of people in trying to build data centers, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
just with the cooling and for some companies, especially with regard to healthcare or financial, a minute dark is unacceptable, right? So
Mhm.
what is the backup and if there is extreme weather, what are we going to do? And just it's really interesting to see, and I know that we have different views on where we're going to get this power, but my firm belief is that every type of fuel is required and everything at our
Mhm.
disposal will need. We need the coal, we need the oil, we need the sun and the wind
Exactly.
and we need it all because that's how much power we're going to need to for our new future.
I totally the clean power angle would be the best, and if we could figure that out, I just don't know that we'll be able to scale quickly enough to do that. So I think you're right. It's going to be a combination of things for the next foreseeable future, anyways, for the next several years. But in the meantime, if we can get a foothold, keep our foothold in here as leaders, I think the potential for the U.S. is quite grand, honestly.
It is. It's really interesting. I was actually writing about this in my book the other day about, if we wanted to, let's say we wanted to build a new coal mine, and it would take 8 to 10 years to be able to be ready to start getting that money back, right?
Hmm.
And so when you start thinking about that and how fast time's going, it seems like
Yeah.
AI, I mean, just it's so rapid that but only take a year and a half to be able to power that all with solar, right? So it's kind of
I'm all in.
right. But and this that's free. But
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, so can you give any specific examples of an AI driven solution where we saw that we reduced costs and improved efficiency for a company?
Well, I can tell you, and I hate to point this example out because people will say, "Well, you're taking jobs away from people." But what's happened in our case is when people have put all their content in here and the platform really learns their voice. So to be relevant, they're doing a lot of news article posting on LinkedIn or Substack articles and social media and so forth. But they're using the expert loop to generate that content. So that and what they're not having to do is pay extra people, social media posters to do that because it's coming out in their voice and they're happier with it because they have a now we do have some people that have still have the social media folks involved because they're doing other things for them with images and other things. So that's great. But the basic of creating the content, you're saving all the time of the expert and you're potentially saving a lot of time on the social media side. And that content is going out there and that person remains very current and relevant in what's happening with newsjacking or whatever else they have to do to make themselves visible. So that's one example. We have people that are we have coaches of coaches. We have one particular person who is a coach that helps other coaches set up their business models and their platforms. And he's already been telling us just how much more efficient his whole team has been by rolling this out to his customer base. because they're not having to call in and ask for administrative help on things or specific help on a method or tool that they're working on, because they can get it right out of the system, and that's saving them time. Now we're early in the game, so I'm convinced, like, if I talk to you a month from now, I'll have three more examples. It's just constantly people are finding new things to do. And what we've done in our community here is we actually, as we build these agents, work with the experts to build them, and we enable them to build it themselves, by the way. They get to a certain point where they don't even need us. But what we do is we share those agents with the other experts on the platform. So we're saving them time in that sense. They've already got an agent built somewhere else. Hey, this will help you on it. Why don't you plug this one into yours? And next thing you know, you've got an agent writing your marketing plan for you that you're not having to write. So there's all kinds of angles here.
Yeah, that's really cool. It makes me have to even think, I have a client, Hawaii Medical College, and there's a lot of, the school catalog or the admissions.
Hmm.
That would be an easy one, right? Because
Sure.
just the dates and what's required for enrollment. I mean, things like that,
Sure.
there's endless opportunities. I can't wait to get mine.
Yeah, I can't rate it.
You
No,
say.
but I think
Yeah, I think that you're right. Like, and the fact is that, you can still have that same social media person that you have hired.
Mhm.
They can be in there, and then they're gonna create the articles for you with the agent. And then, the author is just gonna be loving the content so much easier. The approval process so much
Absolutely.
faster. And then, I am very excited to try mine out.
Yeah, well, and you're also it's for the person that has the tool. If it's the social media person, now all of a sudden they don't have to worry about the writing part, but they're worrying about the targeting, and they're worried about the direct market, whatever marketing aspects that they can bring into the equation. So their skill set may have to change a little bit to adopt, but at the same time, I think it's more efficient for everybody. So.
Absolutely. So, guess my last question for you is, where do you see the next big leap in AI for businesses will be? What should entrepreneurs be prepared for?
I think the next big leap will be these agents in such a way where businesses are equipped to use the agents on their own to basically develop their own things for workflow purposes. Um, automation, obviously, anything that has a methodology to it, like a sequence of steps. What's going to happen is these agents are going to get much better at working together. Today, they're kind of siloed in the sense they can do a set of processes and then, okay, that's it, I'm done. And, kind of start over for the next agent. But we've been working very hard at getting the agents to work together. And I think that's what the businesses are going to find. The enterprise is going to figure it out long before we will, because they have the resources to do that. But if once that's in in place, I can think of all these types of workflow elements where it starts here, one agent handles it to a certain point, then they handle it to the next, but you have the context to work on the next step, and it goes further and further and further. So I think agents are really the key, and enabling people to actually write their own, that's going to be huge.
I think that's really interesting. It made me think about one of the things that we've been trying to find a solution for at the agency is we build a lot of CRM workflows, like
Hmm.
technology development and audits, and save companies on average, even a small company, usually $3,000 to $5,000 a month just from consolidating technology solutions and using automation and other things like that. But one of the big problems is once we have an improved scope, we build it, we train people, and it's launched. But we both know how frequently that changes. Like, oh,
Oh
now,
yeah.
okay, we want to add this, or we want to add a
Right.
here, we want to add a calendar here, and to be able to keep up with the updating of the documentation is
Yeah.
right, to do it the way we're doing it now, like, oh, updating a PowerPoint or a Word document, and being able to go to an AI agent and be like, and that's like, this is the agent for the calendar. Okay, calendar agent, we've done this change. Implement that into the documentation would be
That's a
level.
that's a great description of what you can do. I mean, you could even refine an agent where you add a step or take a step out if you eliminated a step. It's very simple, and it's all in plain language. People, when they hear agents, they think, "Oh my God, this is like so technical." It really isn't. If you see how they're done, it's written in straight English. I mean, I can say to the agent, "You answer in my voice using my content. You're answering it as though you're the author of this content, and I want this tone in the messaging, and I want you can describe it just like that, and the agent will behave the way you tell it to. So if I don't want to use a certain word, I don't like this word, tell it you don't like that word. They won't use it. We
Right.
had someone that had to I think it was like they kept spelling his last name wrong when they were doing. He said, "Make sure you always spell my name with two L's at the end." It never made the mistake again.
Right. And then you
So,
think that there's now with the metaverse, right? And this idea of avatars and whatnot, like,
mhm.
how is there a next step here of visualization of like, okay, here's the agent, here's the avatar, and now they could even take shape in the metaverse.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there are companies now that are focused more on the visual aspects than we are. That's sort of our next phase. We wanted to be very true and authentic in a coaching platform with the agents as our sort of our starting point. But we have desires to do a lot more with images and with audio outputs and things like that. But to have clones, yes, clones are out there. You can actually have a clone built where it looks very much like you, talks a lot like you. I still find it's a little awkward when I interface with it. It's a little bit kind of like puppetry in a way, and it doesn't go very deep. It's designed more to make somebody look, make it a look and feel of the person as opposed to the in-depth knowledge that they have to convey. So that still has a ways to go, but I think it will get there, and we'll incorporate avatars and things on our platform as well. It's fun. If people want it, we want to provide it. So
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here today. And to all listeners, you can connect with Gary on LinkedIn. The website
absolutely.
is expert, Xpertloop, expertloop.ai. And the pricing is very, very affordable and it's perfect for authors and all different types of businesses, as we've now learned. Thanks so much for being here today. And you also have work on Linktree.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay, it's Garry S. Wheeler. We'll have all the information, of course, on the podcast when we release it and the newsletter. And to all my listeners, please join me next week as I interview another industry expert in a topic to help you succeed on and offline. Be sure to follow the Covert Code on your favorite streaming service, and we'll see you next week on the Pixels. Aloha.
Aloha.